The 90th edition of the great race there, but we are now back to the bread and butter running of the ELMS with 4 races still to go, each of 4 hours in duration. So here at Monza, and then we will be heading to circuits, Grade 1 circuits, as exotic as Barcelona, Spa-Francorchamps and the Algarve International Circuit. A reminder of where we have been so far: to Le Castellet, the Circuit Paul Ricard, not far from Marseille in the south of France, to Imola in Emilia-Romagna, and we stay in Italy for round 3 here at Monza. Next month, at the end of August, it's the 4 hours of Barcelona. Then about 4 weeks on from that, the 4 hours of Spa-Francorchamps, and we end the season in mid-October for the 4 hours of Portimão at the Algarve International Circuit. Stupendous weather this weekend in this part of Italy. What are we? A short drive out of the centre of Milan, and temperatures are set to rise yet further from the current 34 degrees Celsius to the potential of 37 tomorrow in time for the race itself. Build the 4 hours of Monza for a 11:30 start, and therefore, if your mathematics are as basic as mine, a 3:30 finish tomorrow afternoon. And we are all set for a barnstorming event with 42 cars on the entry list, split across 3 different categories: LMP2, LMP3, that we will see in a moment or two. But first of all, the GTEs, and we are savouring the final days of LMGTE category racing. It will continue to be a thing in 2023, but Pro-Am teams now confirmed for the World Endurance Championship. Aston Martin, Ferrari and Porsche are the 3 manufacturers still very much present in this category of racing. 12 of them will be attacking the 5.793 kilometre circuit of Monza. Fairly simple to follow on paper, but there are a number of hard stops around this place. It's pretty brutal on tyres with the Curva Grande, the Lesmos, the Parabolica, with all that lateral load that these Goodyear Eagle tyres have to take the punishment across just over hour-long stints for the GT cars when we get to the race itself tomorrow. John Hartshorn being strapped into the number 95 car for Oman Racing by TF Sport, because for this season, similar rule set to what we have in the World Endurance Championship, in that it is going to be an all-bronze session for these cars. So Absolute Racing, who took advantage of being top of the reserve list at Le Mans, although they were still labelled as hardpoint racing. A Proton entered Porsche, took part in the 90th edition of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, and Andrew Harrianto strapped into this particular Porsche for qualifying duties. Pierre Herret for the 32 Rinaldi Racing Ferrari crew, and their sister car will be piloted by Christian Hook. And we've got Duncan Cameron for Spirit of Race, Takeshi Kimura for this car, the car guy backed 57 of Kessel Racing, Claudia Schiavone for Iron Lynx. It'll be Giacomo Petrabelli for JMW Motorsport, Oman Racing Team, Ahmed El Hati after his fabulous qualifying performance earlier on in the season, Christian Reed for Proton Racing, and then number 77 Porsche, Rahel Fry, no change that, to Sarah Bovey for Iron Lynx number 83, Michael Fassbender for Proton's number 93, the Emerald Green Porsche, and as mentioned, John Hartshorn will be aboard the Oman Racing by TF Sport car, the sister to car number 69. Johnny Palmer and Graham Goodwin, the editor at dailysportscar.com, to take you through these next short, sharp sessions, even shorter than the Michelin Le Mans Cup sessions, Graham, that we've just witnessed.
Indeed, just 10 minutes to get a lap time in the books. Track limits, as always, being closely scrutinised here. The only other additional piece of information to ram into these 10 minutes is a fairly significant change in the balance of performance in the GT3, the GTE class, Johnny, and that is a substantial cut in the turbo boost for the Aston Martins. Came be in the run-up to this race meeting, and they've not really been at the sharp end since the start of running this week here. And possibly even more surprising is that is as a result of the decision made about the pace of the bronze driver in the Aston Martin. And with absolute respect to John Hartshorn, that can only be that there's been some concern about the pace of Ahmed El-Hati. I'm not sure how he should take that, whether or not he should be, you know, thinking, well, you know, I'm very pleased indeed they thought I've been that quick to make that change, or to be mightily irritated that so far this week has counted them out of ultimate competition.
Yeah.
We will see, by the way, a significant change in driver for the race tomorrow in the European Le Mans Series in the GTE class, and that's come for the number 33 Rinaldi racing car. For the remainder of the season, we will see no other than Jerome Bleekemolen aboard that car, replacing Oscar Chinjo, who will feature no more in Rinaldi's GTE efforts, but may well pop up in one of their LMP3 cars later this season.
And it is great to see Jerome Bleekemolen finally get a deal that should be watertight now to the end of the season, because they had a big opportunity in the States, I think, fall through, and that's left him with you know, just picking up the pieces in terms of what he can do in season 2022. So at least that is 4 definite races now between this point of the season and the end of the calendar year.
Yeah, he's still rapid, still has a lot to offer. He's one of a remarkably small group of drivers, a group that was joined by Harry Tinknell a couple of seasons ago at Le Mans, who have raced in all 4, if you include LMP1 and Hypercar as one class, if you like, the top class, all 4 classes at the Le Mans 24 Hours. And great to see Jerome back here in the European Le Mans Series. He'll be enjoying it, of no doubt whatsoever. But here we are. It is already just over 6.5 minutes remain as we've got the first of these cars coming round to set the first flying lap times. Quickest on this out lap at the moment looks like it's Andrew Haryanto, by the way, in the Absolute Racing car. And this will be, as we've said repeatedly, Johnny, an opportunity that these guys and girls will relish to measure their progress against their bronze-ranked peers. Andrew Haryanto. Sarah Bovey, by the way, grabs the purple sector, second sector laurels on this opening lap from Haryanto. Duncan Cameron crosses the line, puts in a 1:50.772. Giacomo Petrobelli for JMW takes that forward. Sarah Bovey, though, into the 1:49s, and that's the first proper time of the session. It will not be, by the way, provisional pole for Andrew Haryanto, because with the miracle of our Alcamel timing screens now featuring the predictive text, if you like, TL, we can tell you that Andrew Haryanto has had that lap deleted for track limits.
There's also success ballast to be thinking about. The heaviest cars, 32 Rinaldi racing car carrying an extra 30 kilos, and the Oman Racing Aston Martin, so it's had its turbo turned down, and because it's done well in the championship so far, a further 25 kilos strapped into the passenger footwell. So that will be slowing down the Oman Racing with TF Sport Aston Martin, particularly out of the slower speed corners where you're looking to pick up speed as much as possible. They are not the only cars with success ballast, but they are the heaviest as a result of previous successes in the 2 races we've had and championship position.
Fastest, by the way, in the first sector overall in this session, 5th in the order right now with completed laps, but with a purple sector to his name. And I think the first time I've seen a purple sector to the name of Michael Fassbender putting in. And that's just that robbed, cruelly grasped away from him by his team boss. Christian Reed, who's yet to complete a flying lap in the session.
That's cruel, isn't it? But there's still plenty of time yet,
I'd say,
to improve again for Michael Fassbender, coming back from a difficult Le Mans after a big crash during the qualifying session on the Thursday afternoon. Wednesday, in fact, wasn't it?
Third. Fassbender goes third.
Yeah, so up to third position goes Fassbender, and his Porsche at Le Mans had to be replaced with a brand new car. I assume this is still the same chassis that they brought in as the replacement, therefore. And Proton's car then up to third place. What did Christian Reed do with his absolute best? He hasn't yet completed that lap, but he's about to.
Yeah, he's on track to potentially challenge for provisional pole here. What we don't know is the relative handling of the Porsche in the final sector. We're about to find out. Sarah Bovied is still on provisional pole position. 9 tenths up on both Giacomo Petrobelli, who lost his lap to track limits last time around, and Michael Fassbender. Reid goes to the top by a quarter of a second. It is a 1:49.0 for Christian Reid, the number 77 car. One of the most experienced drivers in this field, the most experienced driver in the WEC by dint of having started every single race in that championship's history. So he'll be back next weekend, of course.
Here at Monza.
Indeed, back-to-back racing weekends here at the Temple of Speed for the European Le Mans Series and the FIA World Endurance Championship.
And it was the WEC that was always going to be coming to Monza in July. ELMS a hastily rearranged date, but it makes sense to have a sort of ACO festival, really, separated by a week. So Christian Reid in a Porsche fastest for Proton competition. That's car 77 ahead of Sarah Bovey. This car, the Ferrari in the pink livery for the Iron Dames, or Iron Lynx as it is on the entry list for the ELMS. And she's only 0.251 of a second slower. But
she's on track, on target at the moment to go back to pole position. That comes courtesy of the fastest sector overall, first sector of this session. Keeps it within the white lines, just there through Parabolica. It's going to be about the terminal speed here across the line. What can she do? 1:49.122 it was, 1:49.051 she needs. She doesn't beat it. She's 0.071 back. My apologies, that was 1:49.122 was the lap time. Closed it by 0.2 of a second. Couldn't produce the goods in the final sector of that lap. Andrew Haryanto has completed a flying lap. He's closed the gap as well, under half a second. So it's Reid, Bovey, Haryanto, Ahmed Al-Hati right up there as well. He's a second off the pole position, then Petrobelli, then Michael Fassbender. Remember, Fassbender just a few moments ago was third quickest. He's now sixth quickest as others improve. And that was a big twitch, wasn't it, from Ahmed Al-Hati as he comes round to complete a lap that he will hope will fire him further up the order.
Couldn't get the required turn in. The car just didn't react, so there was a bit of understeer from my reading of it. Whether the tyres weren't fully up to temperature. They do lose tyre temperature as they're going down a long straight, would you believe it? It's through the corners where the rubber gets back into its operating window, so you need to be mindful of that. Much more pointy as he goes into the Rettifilo chicane, but has to mop up a bit of oversteer there coming out of turn number 2. Does Ahmed Al-Hati. Meanwhile, Sarah Bovey back at Ascari chicane and not hanging around at all. She's just set an absolute best through that middle sector.
It was an absolute best in the first sector, but that's been bettered by Christian Reid. She's then gone through and set an absolute best in the second sector. She's at the moment comfortably up on the original pole pace for Christian Reid, but Reid himself is on another quick lap, so what can he do? So we'll see what Sarah Bovey can produce this time around. She was pretty darn close last time, took 0.2 out the advantage. Is she going to go through? She doesn't. It's 0.5054 of a second back, and with Reid also going quickly, he might just extend that advantage, and there's still going to be one lap opportunity for Sarah Bovey to do it. This will be Christian Reid's last opportunity to set a quick lap, because by the time he gets to the start-finish line, he's going to be looking at the checkered flag. That's out now. He's 0.3 up on his previous pole-setting target, so he could extend it further, potentially out of reach of Sarah Bovey. Comes through now, he will complete this lap, and I think this is going to be an improved time. 1:48.859 it is, so it's a quarter of a second now up on Sarah Bovey, who does not improve in sector 1.
Yeah. So
as Christian Reid just set the pole position time, I think he might well have done.
Now, is it as a result of the balance of performance that the Ferrari, for whatever reason, is not getting the pace on the straights around here at Monza? Great through the twisty stuff, and as demonstrated by Sarah Bovey, very good through that middle sector, which includes a hard stop into the second chicane and good medium corner speed through both of the Lesmos. But she didn't have anybody to run with, i.e. punching that hole in the air. Let's see how she gets on this time around. Exit out of Ascari, looking very good again. But what about the straight line speed? I know that probably pole position's gone, but this is very fascinating to me about the behaviour behaviour or the dynamics of the balance of performance this weekend, Ferraris look to be struggling on the straights compared to the Porsches. 37.2, that seems to be a time that really the Ferraris can only dream of, and Sarah is feinting towards the right-hand side of the circuit and into the pit lane, knowing that that lap was not going to be good enough, and why burn even more fuel when it's not necessary. So Bovey still good enough for second fastest. Andrew Haryanto has already crossed the line to see the checkered flag, so he's no longer a threat in the Absolute Racing car. And the final car over the line is the 32 of Gabriele Lancieri for Rinaldi Racing. Slight improvement there. Fifth place will be the result.
But the other improvement at the end there was from Giacomo Petrobelli, who put the JMW car on the second row of the grid. So it is the Proton Porsche from the Iron Lynx 83 Ferrari, then the Absolute Racing Porsche, then the JMW Ferrari, then the Rinaldi Racing Ferrari, before we get to sixth fastest car, which is the Oman Racing by TF Sports Aston Martin. Well, let's go and hear what Christian Reed's teammates, and it's Jimmy Bruni, has got to say to Haley.
I'm down here with Jimmy Bruni, Christian Reed's teammate. Well, first pole of the year for you guys here from the car at number 77.
Yeah, I mean, it was really good lap for Chris, and I think the preparation was really good. Good strategy to go out with old tires, warming the brakes, warming Chris himself, and be ready with new tires. So it was really good.
Because he kept on really improving on his times, you know, despite Sarah really snapping at his heels behind him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with the age, we're always improving.
That's reassuring. Just tell us about how you're feeling going into for the race tomorrow.
I mean, the race is going to be for sure a chaotic race, always intense, chaotic, like always all the LMS. But for sure, it's a good starting point for tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Christian Reed taking pole position in car 77. There are two Porsches in the top three. First of them, or rather the lowest of them, being the number 18 car for Absolute Racing and Andrew Haryanto. Sarah Bovey in between those two flat sixes, the 4-litre flat six, which sits in the middle of these cars these days for Iron Lynx. And try as she might, she couldn't go quicker than Christian Reed. Maybe all about that time that he found in that final sector. He had the absolute best first and final sectors on that lap. And when you add them all together, it's a 1:48.859 from Bovey's Iron Lynx Ferrari. Andrew Haryanto third. Fourth position for Giacomo Petrobelli for JMW Motorsport. Left that reasonably late to pluck out a fourth place finish. Then Gabriele Lancieri and Ahmed El Hati for Rinaldi Racing Ferrari and Oman Racing with TF Sport Aston Martin respectively. We take a brief pause before welcoming another batch of cars out onto track. This will be 13 LMP3s, a mixture of mainly Ligiers, one Duquesne for DKR Engineering.
Indeed.
Let's just see what Fassbender's saying. Just catching.
It's like consistent. Every single lap was at the same time. And the last one was fastest one, but like all the laps were good. There was not a single one that wasn't good. Really nice.
Well, that's very impressive and surely pleasing to hear for Michael Fassbender, in that consistent pace is so important when we get to the race tomorrow during his presumably opening stint.
Yeah, and that is exactly it. We say this time and time again, particularly when we've got the gentleman drivers, the non-professional drivers qualifying these cars. It is what you want to see is improvement through that session, and that's what we were seeing with Michael. Did have good pace. It wasn't quite pole position pace today, but it's you know, look, we're talking here about improvements in the thousandths or the tenths of seconds. You know, these are margins that most of us, and I include myself in that, can't really comprehend. What am I doing to make that difference? What you're really basically saying is you are, in Michael Fassbender's case, about a second off a potentially perfect lap in these circumstances. 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's small, isn't it? I mean, you think how little you can do in a second. There one goes, and yeah, that's the difference between the top pace in that category and just falling short. But then, you know, those are the things that keep you up at night, thinking, where can I find a second around a 5.7 kilometre lap?
Where can I find a tenth? Where can I find, you know, 5,000s? Yeah. Where can I find that? That's how frustrating it is when you've got these sessions being as close as they are. And you can see with Michael there, I think, you know, he's quietly, reasonably content with his performance, but there's frustration because what he doesn't want to see is, what was he, 8th in that session?
Yeah.
He was up to 3rd at one point. And having been there, you want to be able to stay there. And if he couldn't maintain that rate of progress and improvement, that's where the irritation is coming from. He knows he's capable of it. He knows he didn't make any errors. He just couldn't ultimately find as many tenths as Christian Ried could.
And will his team boss tell him all of the secrets now as they head for lunch? Absolutely not, because, you know, there is a business arrangement there quite clearly, but there's also sporting competition, and Christian Ried wants to win as much as everybody else on this grid.
Well, here's one for you if you're watching us on social media. I'm trying to kind of work the systems in the background here. I can't remember the last time Christian Ried set a pole position in the European Le Mans Series, and I think it's quite a while ago. And I'll be able to tell, broadly speaking, by the wattage of his smile when I see him. But for the moment, we're stuck in our booth and we can't go and ask him because we've got a lot more action to come. If you know the answer to that question, drop us a line on Twitter, Johnny at Blackpool Johnny. I'm at DSC Editor, at European Le Mans Series, of course, for the series. Or if you're on one of the Discord servers, you know where to find me. Drop that answer in as well. I think he'll be mightily pleased by that.
Oh, yeah. 100%, because if it's, well, it's clearly been a long wait. I think probably a couple of seasons.
I think that's probably right.
I'm happy to be put right on that, but yeah, he hasn't always been the chosen driver, of course, because only recently have we gone into only bronze drivers being allowed in that session. It was something that has been utilised in the Michelin Le Mans Cup pretty much since its inception. It only came in as a rule a couple of years ago in the World Endurance Championship, start of last year or maybe the year before. Yep. And now the ELMS have adopted it, and you can see why. And,
you know, a great qualifying performance, by the way, from the Iron Dames. Now, you know, where have they had a pole position before?
Don't think they've ever been on pole, no.
Sarah Bovi's had some good runs.
Oh, yeah,
yeah. But I'm not sure again when we've got for this one. It's good to see this. What we're seeing is progression from individual drivers and from teams together. And that, when you're dealing with a Pro-Am squad, is an indication that it's working well. It means that not only has the team got their stuff together, not only has the driver got their stuff together, but that relationship between the Pro and the AMs is producing the goods. You'll see it, you know, in qualifying. You'll see it in the race in terms of the consistency and speed for the gentleman drivers, because as we've said time and time and time again, we get very excited, correctly so, for the entertainment doled out by the professional drivers in sports car racing. But what wins races is consistency and pace from the bronze and silver drivers.
Pole positions so far this year. Memo Gidley got one at the start of the year to Le Castellet for Rinaldi Racing. Then it was Ahmed El Hati, as we've talked about, at Imola, and now we're here at Monza. But this is the first year where it's been a bronze-only session. So I checked just now, 2021, first pole position of 2021, the 77 Porsche. But that was Jean-Marie Bruni. It wasn't Christian Ried. So that's the reason why we're looking so far back for a Christian Ried pole. This
is what we'll be seeing over lunch at the moment. Is it'll be Christian Ried telling Jimmy Bruni he's got as many pole positions.
Yeah, 1-1.
Yes.
So Bruni, also last year Rivera for AF Corsa, the crew that have now moved on into LMP2. Ross Gunn got a couple. But
here's the thing, for Christian Ried, that will really matter. It'll really matter because that is his peer group. Those guys and Sarah Bovi, that girl, that woman, they are his peer group as the bronze ranked drivers here. Anyway, enough of that. Is that Rolling Thunder, Johnny? No, it's the start of the LMP3 practice, the qualifying session.
It's the glorious sound of 13 Nissan V8s powering into life as they all head out, pretty much all of them head out into the session, and a frantic race to be the front of the queue. One or two others that knew the game was up, deciding to actually sit back a little while. including the 2 United Autosports cars for Bailey Voisin possibly and Jim Maguire, but they are drivers to be confirmed. The ones we do know about: Alex Capadia in the number 5 RLR M Sport car, DKR Engineering, and their number 4 is Sebastian Alvarez. It's Finn Gersitz, who took pole position here last year in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Car number 2, United Autosports. The 3 car is now moving as well. Ross Kaiser for 360 Racing. It's James Littlejohn for Nielsen Racing, their number 7 entry. It is Glenn Fonberlo for Euro International, number 10. Max Cobalt for the other Euro International car, number 11. Nicholas Pino for Inter-Europol competition in car 13. His teammate is Matheus Caprich in the number 14 car. Valentino Catalano for RLR M Sport, number 15. The 2 Cool Racing cars, well, we can tell you about one, Antoine Ducin in the 27 car, but the 17 has yet to join the session. And one car that I missed out, because that also hadn't yet gone onto the track, it has now car number 3 for United Autosports, and that is Kai Fonberlo.
Yep, Max, the team manager at United Autosports, watching like a hawk those timing and data screens, I'm sure. And what great servants to sports car racing, and frankly to the team's growth LMP3 has been for United Autosports. Their Michelin Le Mans Cup, European Le Mans Series, and for that matter other racing that they've done in these little cars, the Asia Le Mans Series, and I'm sure we're going to see more of them in the Asia Le Mans Series in the coming year. Already committed to a 2-car LMP2 effort in Asia next season. Still holding Mo Smith. There'll be some tactics involved here. The brain bumped into the Brains Trust at Cool Racing yesterday evening, that being Nico Lapierre, the team principal, and the newly appointed sporting director, Anthony Megavond, ex-journalist with Endurance Info, our French friends, and then for many years with Orica's, moved on now, and I'm sure is going to be a great fit with what I think is an increasingly impressive outfit, Cool Racing.
I think that's going to be Malte Jakobsen in the 17 car. Mo Smith's name is against the car at the moment, but only because he hasn't joined the session yet. Valentino Catalano, number 15, whips underneath the bridge then. The tyre manufacturer that's not utilised in the LMP3, because all of these cars are Michelin shod, but we do see Goodyear Eagles in GTs and in the LMP2 field. As now down this long straight from Ascari to the Parabolica comes the multicoloured car, number 5, always confusing me because it's in the colours of CD Sport, or what we thought was CD Sport. Actually, they are tied to a driver, though, an RLR M Sport. So it's is it Michael Jensen's colours?
Michael Jensen's colours.
That's right, yep. That we have associated with CD Sport over the years, but that is very much an RLR M Sport car, and heads across the line being driven by Alex Capadia.
So here we go, and almost immediately the first of the track limits comes into place. It's for Ross Kaiser. Nico Pino for Inter-Europol, the number 13 car, goes to the top of timing and scoring, 1:45.220. Just a quick moment, by the way, to say, hope you're comfortable and get well soon and back to Carina, a relatively new addition to the Inter-Europol squad. Had a nasty fall in the paddock yesterday and is in hospital here in Milan. Carina, we're all rooting for you. Hope you're comfortable and hope it all goes well. We'll be checking in with you over the next few days, young lady.
Here comes Finn Gersitz over the line, and his time is good enough for 4th position, with Valentino Catalano up ahead. James Littlejohn second fastest in the Nielsen Racing car, number 7. But quickest so far is Nicholas Pino for Inter-Europol competition. Scratch that, though, because Kayvon Berlow's just gone over the line for United Autosports, their number 3 car, with a 1:44.422, and that's nearly 8/10 better than anybody else, namely Inter-Europol competition's Nicholas Pino in car number 13. This young man from the Netherlands is a bit special,
isn't he? It's been out of racing with us here in Europe for a couple of seasons. Stellar stuff in the Carrera Cup in North America. but back in an LMP3 car with United Autosports, and that's a big gap in this early in the session. Nico Pino, though, is fighting back here with a significantly quicker time underway and goes back to pole position by 1/1000th of a second. It is into Europol's 13 car. Vans of Nico Pino goes back to the top of timing and scoring by a 1/1000th of a second.
How close do you like it? Timing is only done to 3 decimal places after all, and it's 0.001 the margin for Pino over Kai van Berlo. James Littlejohn 0.375 of a second further back on the absolute pace, and Matthias Kaptrich right now is making it 2 into Europol competition cars in that top 4.
Kai van Berlo went briefly to purple for sector 2, and a very good purple time it was indeed. He's lost that to track limits. Got someone on hold here, Johnny, coming in with a late call. It's Malte Jakobsen, and he's just gone purple in the first sector and has gone purple in the second sector too.
Unsurprisingly, and this is the reason why Cool Racing hold back, because they know they don't necessarily need to do every single lap in 10 minutes. They can chuck the car out after 2 or 3 minutes have already gone, confident in this young Dane's absolute speed. So the 17 car heading down towards the Parabolica, travelling through the air well. He goes wide, but not too wide at the Parabolica, and I'm sure this final sector of the lap will also turn purple for Malte Jakobsen. It does. It's 3 in a row, and he's gone 0.8 of a second quicker than what we thought was the perfect pace from Pino and from Kai van Berlo.
There you go. Lego, the light machine gun, Google Maps, and awesome endurance drivers. Denmark, you've done them proud again. Absolutely amazing stuff from young Malte Jakobsen. Who's to say that's as much as we're going to get from this session, though?
I don't think it is.
Well, we've got blue sectors all over the place. It's now going to be about the rest attacking that mark. That was cool as you like. Comes into the session late. Just looking at the brief graphic we got there with Malte Jakobsen, and a picture that must have been taken 2 years ago, when to say he was baby-faced would be understatement. Now what you've got is, you know, a kid who is grown like a weed, and you know, it's not changed him at all. No. He is such a lovely lad. An absolute credit to his family and the people around him. And someone is off into the barrier. It's a red flag.
That looks to be a significant off as well, because it's a fast part of the circuit, exiting the Parabolica. Maybe not, but into the gravel trap at the very least. I can't see any damage on the left side of the car, and the rear wing is still intact as well.
Which car that is, but was it the 7?
Which is the 7 car? That is the Nielsen racing machine of James Littlejohn.
No, it's 27.
So that is Antoine Ducat in the sister Cool Racing car. So Malte Jakobsen, we were talking an awful lot about. There were big grins on the face of the Cool Racing mechanics because of the pace of Malte Jakobsen, but he's gone off, he's skated off into the gravel, and the gravel trap has done a phenomenal job there. So it's a sideways moment, and he actually hits the gravel trap backwards.
Doesn't make the barrier, so that's the good news.
Indeed.
Antoine Ducat, I mean, another of these guys, massive talent. He's had no luck this year at all. So, clock has stopped with 2 minutes and 7 seconds to go. There's just about enough time for someone to come around and do one lap. Just about. But they're going to have to be very, very fast out the pits. I think that might just be done. And by the way, you're going to have to be at the front of the queue to do it.
Well, yeah, because if you are anything beyond maybe the top 5 cars, you're not going to get around in time, bearing in mind a fast lap. Well, if you're Malte Jakobsen, a fast lap round here is a 1:43.6. If you're anybody else, it's more like a 1:44 something. There are 2 minutes and 7 seconds left on the clock, but that clock will start to count down as soon as the pit lane exit reopens, and you're going to have to get back up to speed as well. So it might be a 1:50, 1 minute 55, something like that.
Yep.
And if the checkered flag starts to fly before you hit the finish line, you will not get a chance of a quick lap. But this session will be restarted.
I've never seen that before. Reported to the stewards for causing red flag. Now, I know you're not allowed to rejoin the session, but I've never seen that.
Reported to the stewards for causing a red flag. Are they trying to suggest that because Cool Racing are in a provisional pole position, then Antoine Ducan's deliberately spun the car to cause a red flag? I don't think Malte Jakobsen needs that helping hand. He was going to do it anyway. So that's a peculiar message.
I've not seen that before. It may be, it's one of those procedural things, but I've not seen that before.
Well, he was on his own. You know, that was an unforced error from Antoine Ducan.
He was at very high speed when that spin came.
Yes.
You saw him trying his best to recover that, but I think that was beyond.
But the areas of suspicion, and I'm sure it's false anyway, are that it wasn't a spin as a result of contact. Antoine Ducan did it on his own, and he is in a car run by the same team as the car that holds provisional pole. That's the only thing that requires investigation, and it is probably just a matter of housekeeping, if you like, that they have to go through that procedure just in case.
You're getting close to flat Earth kind of stuff on that.
I agree, but I'm just painting the picture.
United car at the front of the queue. It looks to me like, is that the Hageli T2 car that's just behind? 13 car there. Nico Pino at the moment on the front row of this grid. Of course, tyres will be cooling as well. That's not going to help matters. So you've not only got to be quick on the way out. There is young Malte Jakobsen. Not in any hurry to get to the end of that pit lane. I'm not sure they're going to see that car.
I'm going to say he probably can afford to not rejoin here and be pretty confident that he will hang on to pole position. 0.794 of a second is the difference between Jakobsen's time and Nicolas Pino. There is one heck of a fight still to be had for the other places, though, so to decide who is going to join him on the front row of LMP3.
And beyond that, if you look at the middle order here, so you've got the two cars, Nico Pino and Kai van Berlo, who are second and third, separated by 1/1000th of a second, but 8/10 off the pole time. 3/10 back from that, Finn Gershitz in the number 2 United Autosports car that hasn't made pit lane back yet, by the way. No, it must have done that. Must be a timing glitch. But then beyond that, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars separated by just over 1/10 of a second. So a tiny improvement by any of them could put one of those cars on the second row of the grid.
Exactly, and that's the reason why the session will be restarted for the fight, effectively for a second position. There is now confirmation that Finn Gersitz's car is in the pit lane, fourth fastest for car number 2, 144.721 for the German driver. And Antoine Ducan's number 27 Cool Racing car is now being lifted and not put back onto the race circuit, but instead heading to the safety of behind the Armco barrier and the tyre wall there. So the marshals will make space for it. One car sitting at the end of pit lane, ready to take the restart, which must be Kai van Berlo. There are a lot more than just the one car. There are 2, 4, 6, 8, possibly 10 all in position and raring to go. Alex Capadia is in amongst that gaggle. I'm sure the other RLRM sport car of Valentino Catalado will be there as well. And the countdown to the restarted session will be so crucial, because that will be the point where the red light is extinguished and everybody needs to be so eager to get going. Somebody's going to make a flying lap here and somebody is not. And there's going to be a definite line between the two. I think
Clock is ticking.
I think the number 2 car, or rather the number 3 car, should be absolutely fine. Kai van Berlo was late returning to the pit lane, we think, although there was probably an issue with the timing as well. I reckon that's the number 2 car of Finn Gersitz rejoining. So van Berlo leading them out. Gersitz is one of the question marks for me.
He's not going to make it.
Is he going to get around in time before the checkered flag is shown?
Well, the pole time is a 1:43.6, and Gersitz left the pit lane with under 1:40 to go, and he's not up at speed and has traffic. Yeah, that's the other point to make here. So we'll call that as we see it on screen. It's a minute and 10 seconds to go now until the checkered flag comes out, and the first of the cars, actually quite some distance away from everybody else, is the number 3 United car of Kai van Berlo. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to get a flying lap. that could be interesting and could be quite spicy.
It's a very interesting decision from Cool Racing to put Malte Jakobsen into the session, and he's right in the midfield there as well. The gap actually on the tracker is misleading. They're all very closely bunched indeed. And the number 3 car then out of Ascari, driven by Kai van Berlo, down this long straight and into the Parabolica. We have 33 seconds still to go. The final sector around here taking longer than that. So 1 or 2 stragglers who did not get to the sharp end of pit road are going to miss out there, we would say. First across the line will be Kai van Berlo. He can force an extra lap out of the session. Also the 2 RLR cars for Alex Capadia and Valentino Catalano.
I think it might only be the number 2 car that doesn't make it, you know.
So car 2, Finn Gersitz, we think he was a little bit late returning from the red flag. Malte Jakobsen does not receive the checkered flag, so he will get another lap out of it as well. And we are now into this final lap. Who is going to go quicker than everybody? Well, not everybody else, because Jakobsen surely has sealed the deal already.
The tracker, by the way, was incorrect too, as all these cars will get this lap. It's an improvement from Catalano in his first sector. I'm looking for other improvements on their time. It's an improvement for James Littlejohn.
I think Jakobsen's allowed some cars to go and thought, I don't need to get involved with this.
Alvarez improves. It is Malte Jakobsen goes purple in sector 1. Sorry.
Well, OK, so he's back a little bit to allowing some track space. And that's good advice from Cool Racing to say, you don't need to be as quick as we thought you might have to be to get to the checkered flag or before the checkered flag. And now he's got a bit of a tow from Finn Gersitz, who's ahead of him on the road in the number 2 machine. But car 3 and Kai van Berlo is the leader, and Jakobsen's backing out of that, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I think deliberately so. So some statements being made to everybody else. I've got the pace, but I don't need to push anymore because you're not going to find 0.8 of a second.
By the way, he was almost 2 tenths up on that purple sector. That's ridiculous.
So he'll tour his way around and into the pit lane. What is Kai van Berlo going to do at the head of the order?
No improvements in the second sector from anybody. They are complete to this lap. We are not going to see any significant changes in this order as a result of the end of that session. It is going to be Malte Jakobsen in the number 17 Cool Racing Ligier with, to be blunt, a magnificent pole position lap. Take nothing away with the way in which that session progressed, but that was a stunning effort from the young Danish driver.
And at the tail of the order of those rejoining cars, Jakobsen going even faster with a 33.471, but he did not need to complete the lap. The high fives can begin now at Swiss squad Cool Racing. Maurice Smith, Mikey Benham and Malte Jakobsen. I think Mikey and Mo have just been sort of pinching themselves, the fact that they've got this young Dane in their ranks. He's only 18. I see what you mean about the little headshot that is displayed next to his name on the graphics as well. That looks about 5 years out of date.
It's not, though, is it?
No, it's not.
It's just he has matured unbelievably over the last couple of years, and I say that in every single way. He's a teenager, of course he's going to shoot up, but his attitude of mind to it, he is such a nice guy, and his speed has just come on in leaps and bounds. We've been saying it for the last couple of years. People are beginning to notice it outside of that arena now.
Yep.
He's been noticed in terms of his pace in North America as well, and quite rightly so, and is turning heads there too. How long is it going to be before someone takes a bit of a punt and puts this kid in something a lot quicker than LMP3? And my answer is not very long at all, if they've got any sense whatsoever. That's a young man that a factory needs to get behind, and soon.
He had a very successful season in 2019 when he was the Danish F4 champion, a dominant campaign that was, and then the very next year in 2020 he found the ACO rules way of racing with RLR M Sport, and the 18-year-old from Freiburg in Denmark takes a pole position here at Monza, a 143.627 in an interrupted session because of a red flag. Into Europole competition, Nicolas Pino finishing second fastest, and therefore a front row start for Inter Europole competition competition. Then it is an all United Autosport second row for Kai van Perlo and Finn Gersitz, followed by an all RLRM Sport third row for Alex Capadia and Valentino Catalano. Let's get straight to the pit lane to Haley Edmonds to hear from Cool Racing and their reaction.
I'm with a very happy Michael Benham because, of course, his teammate Malte Jakobsen just put the car in pole. Wow, he's fast, doing well. Third pole of the year for you guys.
Yeah, no, he really is. I mean, he has a lot of talent, but he's in a great place that helps to make that talent flourish and to continue to make him focus, continue to focus on the job he has to do, to continue to try and improve, try and improve the car, and just continue to deliver. You know, Nico, Max, Guillain, they don't let him settle. They keep pushing him to try and improve, keep making him make sure that he's focused on the job at hand. And it's as much to them as it is to Malte. You know, he's still young, but he understands, beginning to understand at least what it takes to deliver and continue to deliver at the highest level.
Great, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Mikey Benham talking very professionally indeed there, and I suppose it's very easy for a kid of 17, 18 years old to run away with how good he is.
He just isn't.
Well, naturally, no, but you also want that from the team to say, you know, we still need you to be pushing to your absolute limit during qualifying and play your part in the race, because he's with two non-pro drivers, and they, you know, they have to fit into the team at a valuable level, as he does too.
Could there be a better team principal to verbally slap him about a bit, if you like, professionally, than Nico Lapierre? Been there, done that, has all the experience, and for that matter, the professional links on the planet that could launch this kid in a year or two's time into a career that we'll be talking about for the rest of our careers, Johnny. And I hope that happens. It's a joy when that happens with a young talent. And he, at the moment, amongst pretty much a small ocean of talent that's out there in sports car racing, is one that he really does stand out. There's a number. It's a small number, and he's you know, pretty high up in that lottery, if you like.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about something else. What about Believe LMP2 and 17 of them about to emerge from pit lane? Indeed, they are emerging from pit lane right now, Johnny.
Yeah, well, if you thought the Nissan, the throaty 5.6 litre Nissan V8 sounded good, then this is a slightly higher pitched Gibson power plant in each of the LMP2s that are present here at Monza. 4.2 litre normally aspirated V8 with the X-Track gearbox, all standard fare, because remember that in this day and age, every car that is competitive in LMP2 pretty much has to be an Orica 07. And that was the case at Le Mans as well, although we did have one Ligier turned out by CD Sport. Got to the end of the race, in fairness, but in terms of pure pace, that was never competitive.
So remember, if all you know about LMP2 is what you've read on social media, you'll know that it's all the same chassis, it's all the same engine, it's all the same gearbox, and it's terrifically boring. If, however, you watch the European Le Mans series, you'll know that's absolute garbage, and this is amongst the most entertaining racing on the planet right now, and that comes courtesy of a number of factors. It comes courtesy of this Pro-Am mix, it comes courtesy of some astoundingly professional teams that know how to run these cars to the max, and it comes from the fact that we've got not only this aspiring gentleman drivers trying to improve their skill sets, but also some of the semi-pro guys and girls are out there, and some awesome top quality talent as well that are going to be out in these 17 cars, and not just for the next 8 minutes of this qualifying session, but for 4 hours tomorrow. I love it more than words can say, Johnny Palmer.
We have had a dominant team to this point, though, in the form of Prema Racing, with Louis Delatraz, Ferdinand Habsburg and Lorenzo Colombo taking race wins to this point. They haven't yet got a pole position to their name in 2022, though. Car 31 taking pole position at Paul Ricard, which is the TDS Racing by Vaillant car. That was a first pole in a long time for Matthias Besch. And then at Imola, a pole for Alessio Rivera at his home track for AF Corsa, the 88 crew. So could this be a first pole perhaps for Prema, or will somebody else rise to the challenge?
But just look at it. I mean, the depth of talent here. Louis Delatraz, who's, you know, Formula One aspirations and success already in sports car racing. Sophia Flörsch turning heads, the 21-year-old German female driver, and already on the podium this year in the European Le Mans Series. The young man that showed that there was a pyramid in sports car racing to very many, Thomas Laurent. Tom Gamble, massively impressive. Tom Gamble. Ben Hanley with IndyCar on his CV. Patrick Pilet, ex-Porsche factory driver. Matthias Besch and all his LMP1 experience. Jack Aitken, Formula One talent there as well. FIA title winner twice last year and linked in now with the Porsche factory family. Pietro Fittipaldi, another, third generation racer from Brazil and with Formula One aspirations as well. And on and on and on we go. That's just maybe half of the talents we've got here, and now we start to see how quickly they can go. And first to the top of timing and scoring goes Jack Aitken, mentioned in that quick rundown of who's running here. And Jack Aitken in the Racing Team Turkey car, 0.345 of a second ahead of his nearest rival, as I said it, but now drops behind Job van Utrecht, who takes the lead in this session by 29 thousandths of a second in the 65 Panis Racing car. James Allen goes to the top for Algarve Pro Racing. Great lap from the Australian. He's a tenth of a second up on Van Utrecht now. So Allen from Van Utrecht from Aitken.
And remember, just because you're in a Pro-Am driver combination, that doesn't prevent you from taking an absolute pole position. It happened 3 times last year when Logan Sargent bagged a pole at the Red Bull Ring for Racing Team Turkey, and Charles Lacey, who at the time was part of a Pro-Am lineup for Cool Racing, took a couple of poles at the end of 2021. So Jack Aitken setting off as he means to continue. James Allen actually now replacing him at the top of the times, also in that Pro-Am car for Algarve Pro Racing. Richard de Gueris for Duquesne going second fastest, and Job van Uitert for Panis Racing, number 65, going up to third position. But 2 of the top 4 are of the Pro-Am variety. Yeah,
one of them that's not going to improve on this lap is Jack Aitken. He's just been pinged for track limits in sector 2, so the lap he's currently on will not count in the overall standings. But we've got 3 cars at the moment on the laps they're on that are on pace at the moment to better that pole position time. This is going to be a very tight session, gaps all over the place. There's the 5th, 6th and 7th place cars right now are separated by 1,000th of a second.
Wow, yeah, phenomenal.
Absolutely staggering stuff.
Already cars coming into pit lane to change tyres, but Job van Uitert has gone quickest now for Panis Racing with a 1:38.500. He's nearly 0.2 of a second quicker than the earlier pace setter James Allen, although Allen goes across the line and repays the favour, and Richard de Gueris finds the gap to actually slot between the 2. Now that's because there must have been a time deleted, so yeah, I thought that was a bit too much syncing up there to be a coincidence.
FIA goes second quickest. He is 100th of a second off the pole position time. This is going to be so tight.
Allen, Ye, de Gueris and Van Uitert, who briefly had that spell at the top, but time taken away for track limits. Also a penalty for Jack Aitken, who had his last lap time removed for breaching the edge of the circuit.
Top 9 cars, under 0.3 of a second between them at the moment. We've got 3.5 minutes left, and still we've got times coming in. James Allen goes purple again in sector 1. It's another cracking sector 1 as well, but a 10th down on that from FIA. Those 2 at the moment looking very pacey indeed. What can Job van Uitert do? I don't think he's going to do anything on this lap, because he's just been pinged for track limits again on this lap. Matthias Besch, you know what? Always a dark horse in qualifying here. At the moment, on pace to go pole, has not yet set a lap in the number 31 TDS Racing by Vion car.
Gabriel Aubry making some progress in the 51 Team Virage car. He's now up to 11th position, as now into the pit lane, Nicholas Nielsen for AF Corsa, Job van Uitert for Panis Racing. That'll be for a new set of Goodyear tyres, and Patrick Pilet likewise for EDEX Sport. On for something a bit special again is James Allen in the colours of Algarve Pro Racing, coming through the Parabolica now to head across the line, and James Allen backs that up with an absolute best through the first sector, a personal best through sector 2. The third sector wasn't actually a PB, but you link them all together and it's a 1:38.6.
Watch Besh, he is on a very quick lap time indeed. It's very, very close to the kind of pace that James Allen, I think this is going to be good enough at least for the front row. He goes pole by 0.2 of a second.
And that could be a second pole of the year for Matthias Besch and TDS Racing by Vaillant. At the moment, it's an all Pro-Am front row with TDS Racing and Algarve Pro Racing. So Besch and Allen 1-2. Yifei second fastest pit.
Yeah, so he's not going to improve.
Richard de Gueras for Duquesne team is somewhere in that first sector right now. So has continued on, but I wonder whether his tyres may have cried enough now for absolute speed, because Tom Gamble goes across the line to fourth for United Autosports.
Just looking where else improvements are going to come that are going to trouble those first couple of rows. That was an epic lap. Having no lap time on the board, that was a lap. It was basically a one-shot deal there, wasn't it, for Matthias Besch?
What about the championship leaders? Prema Racing all the way down in 12th position for Louis Delatraz.
Well, he's got a quick first sector here. This is maybe their shot at getting in amongst it. It's going to be all about what he can do in the second sector. You know what? Besch is not done here. He's just gone quicker in the first sector. Also going quickly, Tom Gamble. He's not out of this either. Prema Racing just looking to see what Louis Delatraz can do. It's going to fire him up the order, but it's not going to put him on pole position.
The split time for Besch, though, mightily impressive. Might shave a tenth or so off his best so far, which is a 1:38.414. He will go across the line now and does improve. It's a 1:38.2. And that is flashed up as a purple time as well, but we're waiting for Tom Gamble, who...
Delatraz goes fourth.
Delatraz in the Prema Racing crew, car number 9, championship leaders, 50 points so far.
Hanley improves to 10th, but still 18 seconds on the clock.
And James Allen in the pit lane, occupying the fastest time through the first sector. Now, Besch was not quicker there, but he was quicker than everybody else through the other 2 sectors of the lap. 3 seconds left on the clock, and if you've already started a quick one, then this will count. Matthias Besch still not given up.
And by the way, Tom Gamble didn't improve on that lap, but got through just before the checkered flag came out. Just before the checkered flag came out, but he may have a bit of traffic. Besch, you're right, is improving again.
Well, he's arm wrestled that absolute best sector 1 time away from James Allen, who cannot respond because his car is parked in the pit lane. There it is, having tyre pressures recorded.
And watch Jack Aitken and watch Patrick Pilet, because their times are stellar here as well. And watch Pietro Fittipaldi, because all of their first sector times are under a tenth off pole position time.
Pilet for EDEX Sport, currently 8th. You've got Fittipaldi for Inter-Europol competition, who's 11th in car 43. Arriving at the Parabolica now is Matthias Besch with 2 absolute bests already on this lap. And as long as he's neat and tidy through the middle portion of the Parabolica, stays within the white lines here, he will further cement a second pole position of the season. That is a 3 personal bests in a row on 1 lap, and it's a 1:38 flat for Matthias Besch.
So Besch has done the 3 fastest laps in this session.
Yeah.
In those last 3 laps. That was convincing stuff. Well done, sir, Matthias Besch.
Jack Aitken to 4th as Job van Houten goes second fastest, and therefore joins Matthias Besch on the front row in the Panis Racing 65 car. More changing further down the order. And that might have been a time deleted, actually.
So it's Besch from Van Houten. Fittipaldi goes 3rd. Fittipaldi grabs 3rd right at the death.
And Fittipaldi, I can't see any yellow discs next to any of those times telling us that he breached the track limit, so that looks to be a legitimate lap as well. So it's looking very much like a Pro-Am car for the 2nd time this season, topping a qualifying session in the form of Matthias Besch. He did exactly the same at Le Castellet way back in April, and that was the reaction from TDS Racing by Vaillant. exuberant with their celebrations, and quite rightly so. The 31 car, top of the shop again by 0.281 of a second from Joop van Uitert, who also left it late for Paris Racing, snatching a front row start, and Pietro Fittipaldi as well. And one car that was briefly up there but then tumbled down the order. Well, Jack Aitken, who showed really good speed initially, is only 10th fastest by the end of it.
Lost a couple of laps, I think, to track limits, but you're absolutely right. You look at Jack Aitken and Patrick Pilet, both of whom at points in that session looked able to challenge for pole position, and both end up at the wrong end of the top 10. This is going to be some race, you know, Johnny.
It really is.
It just gets better and better, this class.
And that seems an impossible notion by the end of each event, but they keep finding these fabulously talented drivers to enter what is a real big field of cars at 17 in LMP2, and arguably, I think you've said before, the most competitive LMP2 championship on the planet right now.
It's the biggest grid of LMP2 cars, or in fact of any top class prototype in any championship worldwide, apart from the Le Mans 24 Hours.
Yes, and that's Le Mans, so it's always going to be better than a domestic championship. But isn't it great to have this amount of talent? And TDS Racing are top, so let's hear from the team now with Hayley Edmonds.
Tijmen van der Helm, you are, of course, Matthias's teammate. He just put the car in pole. He set 3 of the fastest times in qualifying. What a great second pole for you for this season.
Yeah, he did an amazing job today, and as always, he does a good job, and we're really happy with the pole, and we can have a good start tomorrow.
So just tell us about Monza, the track. Did you like it? Does it work for you? Visibly, it works for Matthias.
Yeah, it works also for me. It's a lot of speed, and I like it is. And I think we will see tomorrow how everything goes.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Great to catch up with Tijmen van der Helm, who in himself is a real talent, but I think he will admit he's not quite as quick as Matthias Besch, certainly not today anyway, and Besch had similar form too earlier on in the season at Circuit Paul Ricard, the opening round of the championship. He has dominated that session, Matthias Besch,
hasn't he? And
gets a second pole position of the season for TDS Racing by Vaillant. The reason they are entered into the Pro-Am category is because of Philippe Chimodomo, who grabbed headlines at Le Mans for the wrong reasons, but will be racing this weekend. TDS Racing fastest by 0.281 of a second from Paris Racing's Joop van Uitert. Pietro Fittipaldi for Inter-Europol competition, third fastest ahead of James Allen, who briefly held the top spot on a couple of occasions, also in a Pro-Am car. Then it was Cool Racing's Yifei Ye, Prema Racing's Louis Delatraz, joint championship leaders with Ferdinand Habsburg and Lorenzo Colombo. Seemingly Colombo now in for the rest of the season, when he was just a replacement for Juan Manuel Correa earlier on in the year, although that's to be confirmed by the team. We do know that Colombo's racing, though, tomorrow. Tom Gamble for United Autosports, Rishad Tigueras for Duquesne, and to complete the top 10, Patrick Pilet and Jack Aitken for EDEC and Racing Team Turkey. Lots of stories coming out of those 3 sessions, but LMP2, I think, grabbing the headlines, Graham Goodwin, for such an amazing session that you couldn't take your eyes off.
Well, it's great. You know, what we've seen there is talent prevailing. We saw some other talent didn't quite deliver. LMP3, we saw, as we said, that young talent emerging, and then old talent with Christian Reed taking it in GT3. Sets it up nicely, Johnny, for what should be a fascinating and fabulous 4 hours tomorrow.
It's an 11:30 start local time, so you're elsewhere in Central Europe running to summertime at this time of year. You can set your clock to that, although we'll be on 20 minutes before at 10 past the hour for the full build-up of round 3 of the 2022 European Le Mans Series. My thanks to Hayley Edmonds in the pit lane, to Graham Goodwin alongside. From Johnny Palmer, we'll see you tomorrow.